You know the story in the Bible where Jesus walks on the water? Probably everybody knows that story, but there's a second person in that story who also walks in the water who normally gets forgotten. Can you remember who that is? Well, the answer is it's Peter. If you don't remember the story, what happens is that the disciples are crossing the sea in a boat. Jesus is not with them, and a storm comes in, and there's a lot of wind and big waves, and the disciples are afraid that they are going to die because they're stuck in this boat in the middle of the sea, and the storm is too big for them to handle. And then they see in the distance Jesus walking to them through the storm on the water. And then the short version is that Peter sees that, and he thinks that's pretty nifty, and so he says to Jesus, I want to do that. And Jesus says, okay, well, get out of the boat and come walk over to me. And so he does. Peter gets out of the boat and starts walking on water. He walks on water successfully. The second person that walks on water in the Bible is Peter. And he does so successfully for a little while, and then he starts looking around him and seeing the wind and the waves, and he gets afraid. And as soon as he gets afraid, he loses faith, and then he sinks into the water, and Jesus has to pull him up and save him. And I think that's very, very interesting, that story, because everybody remembers that... Sorry, there's a mosquito attacking me. Everybody remembers that Jesus walks on the water, but hardly anybody remembers that Peter walked on the water, which to me is the more significant thing, because we know that Jesus is special. Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus has these special powers that normal, everyday humans apparently do not have. However, Peter is not the same. Peter is a normal, average guy in most ways. He's not particularly educated. He was a fisherman. He was not rich. He was not from a particularly good family. He was not a religious leader. He had very, very little qualification, which, by the way, I think that tends to be true of many people who are highly successful in the world, that they kind of shun the formal qualifications. If they have the formal qualifications in whatever field they're in, then they kind of tend to be beholden to the ideas that are already established. And the people that are the real mavericks tend to be people that are self-taught or come from outside of that establishment. But that's an aside. So Peter is a pretty average guy, and he makes a lot of mistakes in the Bible, and he acts like an idiot sometimes. And actually, most people, when they're talking about Peter in that particular story, they talk about his failure, that he lost faith, and so he sank into the water. And so what I think is the opposite. Like, I think that it's absolutely incredible that he was able to do it, that he actually walked on water successfully. I wonder how many of the people that criticize Peter for sinking into the water after having walked on the water successfully, how many of them have ever walked on water for even 1 second successfully? Right? And like, this is people's attitude towards most things in life. It's like, if you are far more successful than 99% of people, and you do absolutely amazing, but then you screw one thing up, they'll focus on the thing that you screwed up, because it gives them kind of an excuse to feel better than you. I see, it kind of annoys me when I see this with people are so happy to see celebrities disgrace themselves. And it's even the people's fans in some cases, like the people that loved and adored this celebrity, and then as soon as this celebrity something bad happens, like Britney Spears comes to mind. Britney Spears was the biggest pop star in the world for a while, or at least in the country, and then she had some kind of mental breakdown, and like, just people were making fun of her left and right. And like, people are happy to see the mighty fall. It's very interesting. So back to the point, though, is that Peter, being a pretty normal guy as far as we can tell, was able to do something absolutely extraordinary according to most people's standards. And it kind of begs the question of why. Like, even though he wasn't able to sustain it, the fact that he got it successfully in the first place is pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. So how did he do it? Well, the biggest thing that I can see is that, well, let me divert to another story in the Bible. There is a woman who is sick. She's perpetually bleeding. These mosquitoes are killing me. Speaking of bleeding, it's the wrong time to be outside, but I'm gonna soldier on anyway. So this woman is perpetually bleeding, and she hears about Jesus, and she has absolute faith that Jesus can heal her condition. And so she goes but she's shunned from society because of the fact that she's always bleeding. Due to Jewish law, it is illegal for her to touch a man in her condition. And so she kind of makes her way through the crowd as Jesus is walking somewhere and touches his robe. And she says that she believes if she can just touch his robe, then she will be healed. And so then Jesus turns around to her and says, "Your faith has healed you." I think that's very interesting. Your faith has healed you. He didn't say, "I have healed you in my super Jesus power." He didn't say, "God has healed you." He said, "Your faith has healed you. Your faith." He gave her the credit. It was her faith that healed her. And this is one of the biggest criticisms that I have with modern Christianity is we've completely lost sight of the power of faith, right? And this is something that is not even relegated to religion. This has been scientifically validated. Why is it that the placebo effect exists? Why is it that if you give somebody a pill and that person believes that the pill will heal them of some disease or condition, then you can give them a sugar pill that has no active ingredient and it will actually heal them? How does that happen? Well, it's because they have faith. Faith has power. Faith has the power to heal. And we scientifically are just scratching the surface of it. The religious folks, the Christians, we should know better. We should know that faith is capable of letting people walk on the water, to do extraordinary things. And yet we've lost sight of that. We feel like it's just the power of Jesus, and we can't do anything ourselves. We can ask God or we can ask Jesus to do something for us, but we don't really believe it's going to happen. We think he's probably just going to say no. Right? So the faith that was the basis of Christianity is all but lost in the modern version of it. I think that's very sad, and I think that may be intentional. I think it's very likely that Christianity has been captured and has been neutered by interests that do not want good people to be powerful. If you've ever noticed, why is it that all the political and religious and corporate power structures of the world are all run by evil people? Well, maybe not all. You can probably find some exceptions. But for the most part, evil people have all the power in this world. Why is that? Maybe it's because evil people know this. They know about the power of faith. The power of faith is it's morally neutral. You can have faith in something evil, and it will give you the power to do things that are evil. Just like having the faith in something good will have the power to do things that are good. And in fact, Jesus demonstrates this in the Bible in the very strange passage that I think Christians, for the most part, ignore. They don't know what to make of this passage. And that is when he curses a fig tree. He's walking along the road and he sees a fig tree. He had just, I forgot the context, but he had just taught his disciples about something to do with the power of faith. I don't remember exactly what, but then he sees this fig tree that it doesn't have any fruit, and he curses the fig tree. He says, "Because you have no fruit, you will wither on the spot and die in the sun, and by soon, I forgot the time frame, you're going to be dead." He curses the fig tree. which seems very out of character for Jesus. And then so they go into the city, and then they come back from the city, and they see the fig tree, and the fig tree is withered and dead. And the reason for that was Jesus is demonstrating that the power of faith can be used for evil as well as it can be used for good. And so the people that are in power, that are evil, they know this. That's why it has given them power. That's why they've gotten to the situation that they have been in. These people are occultists. They know all about these principles, these occulted, that means hidden laws of the universe that most people don't understand. And they realize that Christianity teaches these things, but they do not want Christians, who are generally good people with good intentions, they do not want Christians to know these things and be able to use them for good against their interests. And so they have weaseled their way into the administrative functions of the Christian organizations and the Christian influencers to neuter the religion and cut off all of its power. That's my belief in this. And why wouldn't they? They do it in every other institution. They own the media, they own the scientific establishment, they own the educational establishment, they own the like two big corporations that own all the other corporations. They own the governments, they own the UN and the WHO and the supranational organizations. So why on earth, if they control every center of power and influence in the world, why would they not want to control the centers of power and influence that are the religious centers of power and influence in the world? Of course they would. And they do. And they do very, very effectively, because we are so naive that we do not understand that they do this. We do not see it. So, back to Peter and the power of faith. Peter could walk on the water, being nobody special. Peter is not the Son of God. Yet he could walk on water because he had faith. And why did he have that faith? Well, the number one reason is because he saw somebody else do it first. Right? He saw Jesus having faith. Sorry, it's the mosquitoes. He saw Jesus have faith and be able to walk on the water, and so he copied. Now, it's very much easier to do something, especially something we consider difficult, if we see somebody else do it first. And this actually explains part of why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, is that the poor are exposed to poverty, and the poor see poverty as normal, whereas the rich are exposed to riches and big business deals and starting businesses and doing rich people stuff. To them, it's normal. To the poor, it's this like insurmountable obstacle that's very, very difficult to do, but to the rich, it's normal. So whatever it is you want to do in your life, if you have faith, then it will, I believe, by natural law, it has to happen. If you have faith, it will happen, that it will happen. But how do you have that faith? Well, one way, there's many ways to this. One way is just to repeat thoughts and visualizations over and over again, but an even more effective way, in my opinion, is to put yourself in situations where you see other people that are doing it. So if you want to be successful in business, hang out with successful business owners, and you'll see what they do, and it will become normal in your head, and then it'll be only natural for you to do it. Or if you want to get in shape, hang around with people who are in shape. Go to the gym with them. See what they do. Make it become normal to you. And then that works the other way as well. If you hang out with a bunch of losers and drug addicts, then that's going to become normal to you, and you definitely run the risk of becoming a loser and or drug addict. So careful what you expose yourself to, because whatever feels normal, whatever becomes your expectation, that tends to become your reality.